Is that correct,
You
Andy?
did, yes.
I did. Now, explain, tell everybody, where are you right now?
Well, first of all, guys, thanks so much for taking the time out to have a chat with me.
Absolutely.
I'm in sunny Queensland at the moment, so the temperature's probably a lot warmer here than where you guys are, I'd say. And I'm just down the bottom of the south end of Queensland, so it's a beautiful place to be at the moment, let me tell you.
Yeah. Can I ask, what is the temperature?
It's about 30 degrees.
So that's Celsius, which would be what, in about Fahrenheit? I don't know. So,
80? No, I'm just guessing. I have no clue. I'm just guessing. I'm hopeful.
I'm with you. It's just, all I know is it's nice and warm and it's humid.
Okay.
It's not like that here, and we have a lot of snow on the ground here. We originate the podcast from right at this current time. Of course, you're there, we're here. These seasons are opposite. So, welcome to Skip Happens. We want to find out a lot about you. I'm pretty excited. I found out you were in Australia, of course, and what you do there. Let's talk about you, Andy. How long have you been doing music?
It's been following me around ever since I was a kid. I've been playing music since I was, 12 years old. So it's just something that is just so natural to me, and it's just a huge part of who I am as a human being. It's definitely makes up a big part of me as a person. So yeah.
Yeah. How did you get your start?
It's funny. My grandmother was a professional opera singer in Australia. So for me, I've always been surrounded by music. Like, all of my cousins and all of my family members were musical. Obviously, my grandmother being a singer, that was quite an influential part of my career. But I remember going to school, and my school teacher said to my mum that I had a really interesting sound when I was like 10 years old or 11 years old. And that was the beginning of it. I started singing in the choir at school, and here I am now making a career out of it.
They're like, that boy's got a great voice. We need him.
Yeah.
Amazing though, at such a young age, because your voice would be changing shortly thereafter. So it's amazing they could pick up on that at 10 years old.
It's funny you say that, yeah, because I started, because my grandmother being an opera singer, I had quite a high range before my voice broke. So I was singing in a lot of choirs here in Australia. I was singing some church choirs and with SBS Music and ABC Australia, which are the two big government channels here. So but then my voice broke, and then everything changed from there on in, let me tell you.
Well, obviously for the better.
Obviously for the better, yeah. And I found country music then, and I haven't looked back since.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, why country?
I think for me, it's being one of those genres that my parents have played around the house since I was a kid. I'd get home from school and my mum would have Dolly Parton playing, or any of the Australian kind of country artists that you guys may not know of, Lee Kernaghan or someone like that was on being spun when I got home from school. So that actually stuck with me, I think. And they've always been they've always loved country music. So for me, it's just a natural thing, to be honest. Yeah.
Are you a fan of Keith Urban? Obviously, he's probably right down the road from you.
Yeah. So Keith's actually, they're down Sydney. I'm actually originally from Sydney. That's where I live. So
yes,
they're not too far from me, actually. Yeah. But I remember Keith kicking around Tamworth. I was quite young, and he was in his 20s, and he was kicking around Tamworth, which is the kind of the Nashville of Australia, I guess you could call it. And he was just doing his thing and doing what we're all doing, But look at him now, he's flying pretty high, isn't he?
Oh, there's no doubt. What American artists, though? You mentioned Dolly Parton when you were talking about your grandma or your parents.
Yeah.
What other American country artists were they listening to? I mean, Dolly, of course, is huge, but were there others too? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Dolly was definitely one that my mum loved. So, and she's iconic songwriter, one of the best songwriters that's ever walked this planet, I think. Johnny Cash was another one that was played very, very frequently around my house, as well as a lot of Americana stuff. And I think that's where I got the crossover style happening. So a lot of Eagles and, that was kind of pretty prominent. A lot of Alan Jackson, let me tell you. My mum loved Alan Jackson.
Oh, wow.
And I do as well. I play some of his covers. So, yeah.
Have you been able to catch any of these artists in concert? Obviously, Cash is long gone, but you got Alan Jackson or maybe even Dolly. I don't even know if Dolly's out touring anymore, but some of the others, do you get a chance to check them out?
I haven't, to be honest. I think I've missed a few of them coming to town, but I did see the Eagles when they came to town.
Oh, nice.
Not long ago. And they were just amazing. They still got it. They're still kicking. They're still doing their thing. And let me tell you, they were fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you?
Does that too.
That's what I was going to ask. Did you see the performance with Vince Gill as a part of it? Was he in their show?
I did. Yes, he was. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And obviously, Vince Gill. What a man!
Amazing talent.
No words.
Yeah.
If I had half his talent, I'd be in
And
the right
where was
direction.
that, Andy? Where did you see that? Was it there where you are? Or here.
No, down in Sydney. Yeah.
Okay.
They did an Australian tour. It would have been just before this COVID crisis happened. So yeah, a couple of years ago now. So
tell us a little bit about some of the highlights of your career. I know I was reading your bio, and there's a lot to tell. Why don't you tell everybody?
Yeah, I think for me, music's been, like I said, it's a huge part of who I am, and I love being creative. I love creating music, and that's why I do it. But I've had a bit of success along the way, which has been really nice, and it keeps the ball rolling. I've had 8 top 20 singles here in Australia on the Australian country music charts.
Wow.
2 #1 singles, and a #2 single as well. I've hit CMT charts in Australia 3 times here, which is really cool. I've had 5 top 5 singles on the Australian iTunes charts. I've written songs with some of Australia's best country music artists. I'm not sure if you guys would have heard of them, but Lynn Botel and Casey Chambers, or Casey Chambers' ex-husband Shane Nicholson. I've written some stuff with them. So I think for me it's more about just keeping the art coming. I really enjoy the art side of music, and I don't ever want to lose that. It's still a business at the end of the day, isn't it? The music business, but I think you still need to be true to the art form and true to the music.
This is what you do, and this is what you love. There's no doubt.
That's true.
You know what amazes me, though, and Deb, maybe you would agree. We've got the Canadian music, we have the American country music, and we have, now you're talking Australian. But I mean, the whole idea and the whole purpose it all comes together. But still, it just amazes me that there's so much talent, but yet, we're talking 3 different countries here. It just amazes me that it all happens that way. How did you get involved with music here in the States? Because I got hooked up through, my friends in Nashville.
Yeah, so a friend of mine who is actually doing quite well in the States over there, Lucy Tiger. So she's kind of doing bits and pieces in America, and so I started working with Grassroots, who are a Nashville-based PR company. So they're pushing me in the right direction. But I think it's a natural progression for me to head over to America. It's always been part of the plan, because I do have more of an Americana crossover style. So for me, it's where I really want to be focused on my career. So this is kind of the first, the first single that'll be heading out, or the second single that'll be heading out to radio over there. So.
Excellent. Have you had the opportunity? I don't know if you've been able to because of the pandemic and all that. Have you had the opportunity to make a visit? Have you been in Nashville?
I have, yeah. I have been to Nashville, but I was thinking of going over, spending a lot more time there to do some songwriting and recording and really kind of network with, I've got a few people out there that I know, and, all my music gets mastered in Nashville by Steve Creo, and I'd love to spend some time over there. But I think this pandemic has definitely changed the way that we view everything, hasn't it? So hopefully soon I'll definitely it's still on the cards, I'll definitely get over there, and it might look a little bit different to what it would have before the pandemic, but it's definitely going to happen. It's still,
and we've talked to Lucy before. Love her to death, and she spends like you said, time in Nashville, and plus she gets over to Alabama, and she was telling us about different things that she does and where she goes when she's here. but definitely she's just a great person. It's so funny you mentioned her name, and I was kind of thinking about that. I go, wonder if Andy knows Lucy, but obviously you do.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It's funny. We used to be neighbors. She used to live next door to me.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. So we do a lot of work here in Australia together. I've actually got a show with Lucy next week in Sydney, and she's just so fun. She's just like a ray of sunshine, and in the Australian market, she's really different. You know, she does this really cool road trip Americana stuff, which no one's really doing over here. So she definitely stands out, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
Are you performing quite a bit over there right now, or are you guys? Well, how is it over there with the whole COVID thing? Is it laid low finally, where you can get out, or what? I have no clue where other countries are.
Yeah. Well, it's been a struggle, you know, a lot of, especially with the music industry. Everything's been cancelled over the last 2 years. All the big festivals have been cancelled. For example, I should have been in Tamworth last week, which is the Australian Country Music Festival, and it's huge. You know, there's 500,000 people that go there.
Wow.
We have the Golden Guitar Awards, which are kind of like the Grammys of Australian country music. That's usually in January, but that's been postponed this year again. It hasn't run for 2 years, so that's been a struggle. But for me, I'm quite lucky because I do a few smaller shows. I like to do intimate shows, and those shows have still gone ahead, which is great, you know, because they're smaller crowds, they're not huge, big venues. So touch wood, they still happen. But I do, this year, 2022 is a big one for me. I've got a lot booked, so fingers crossed it all goes ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wish we could hop on over and catch a show, but we might have to wait till next year.
It's a bit of a drive.
Sure, but when I'm in the States, I'll let you know.
Isn't it like a 24-hour flight or something? It's crazy, right?
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah, it's like a 19-hour flight to Los Angeles, and then, you know, wherever else you're heading, but he's on top of that.
Well, you can use your private jet. That's all.
There you go.
You keep
I might have to borrow Keith's.
Yeah, Penkow Air. There you go. Penkow Air.
You never know.
I know. Well, you're doing really well. And like I said, we were
you.
listening to the music before we went on tonight. I said, wow, no wonder. And I did read your bio, and I saw that you had, you know, those 2 number ones and then a bunch of others in the top 10, top 20, which is cool. So you're off and running. What's your creative writing process like when you sit with these people? Tell me how that works for you. What goes through your mind?
Yeah, it's quite a spiritual thing, I guess, for me, writing music. You know, it's I look at it like a diary of some sort. You know, you're writing, everything I write has something to do with the journey that I've been on, and I definitely draw on a lot of experiences that I've been through. I've actually got a bit of a name for myself in Australia. Everyone that wants a sad love song will come to me because I seem to be good at writing those. But,
they sell well, though, let me tell you.
Yes, they do.
They do. But I've got this new project that I've been working on, and it's coming out mid this year, and I've got a first single coming off it, 1993. Mm-hmm. But I think it's a little bit of a different take, and I've tried to really, I thought about all the music that I love, and I'm influenced by, you know, a lot of 90s music as well. You know, like a lot of 90s bands like Matchbox 20 and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
I used to listen to a lot of their music. So you hear a bit of that popping up in this album, which is a little bit different for me. So.
But isn't that the way country music is kind of going? It's kind of a reflection of the 90s, 2000s, and, you know, what we're hearing today kind of reflects that sound a little bit, I think.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I think the trend at the moment is heading towards that kind of 90s sound. Mm-hmm. You know, the Nashville sound's been so prominent for such a long time, but I think it's kind of, you know, shifting back to that Alan Jackson era. Even, you know,
no,
like
exactly.
80s.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is
Love
really cool because
country.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. I live for that kind of stuff. You know, it's great music.
You know, you are obviously a great talent, but do you have a talent that you wouldn't, what's your the most useless talent? Trying to get my words straight here. My inner ears are playing tricks on me, but what's your most useless talent?
My most useless talent. Yeah, no, I get that. I think I'm not the best in the kitchen. I'd probably have to say. Yeah,
I'm there with you.
Most men aren't, to be honest. You know, throwing a hamburger on the grill or a steak on the grill, you got it. But
yeah, that's easy.
It's on the barbecue.
Or veggie. I don't know if you guys do Vegemite on toast. That's probably about my the extent of it for me.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of veggies now. My doctor, my cardiologist, kind of got on my case last week, so I'm on a pretty strict. It's kind of like you got to eat this, and this. So, and it's a lot of veggies. So, but
so are we still driving through Dunkin' Donuts in the morning?
That'll never stop. I'll always have my coffee. I will always have my coffee.
There's wake up wraps.
No, I don't get the wake up wraps. No.
Okay.
No. Is there
I hear loud and clear.
Yeah.
You can't start the day without the coffee, that's for sure.
I don't. Do you have Dunkin' Donuts there? I don't even know what to ask when it comes to that. Do you have?
I know Dunkin' Donuts, but we don't have it here. No.
Okay.
We have something similar. We have like Donut
Starbucks?
King. I don't know.
Donut King.
Yeah, it's kind of similar. I don't know if you guys have that over there, but yeah, we do. We have Starbucks here. Starbucks isn't as big here as what it is in America. But we definitely have it. We've got Zaffarelli's, which is a drive-through coffee shop. They're pretty decent.
Oh, that's cool.
Giving them a plug.
What's your guilty? I know exactly. What's your guilty pleasure when it comes to food?
Oh, I'm more of a savory person, I think. I love Japanese food. Yeah, like sushi. So good, so good. So that's my go-to kind of food, I think.
Well, that's big there. Sushi is big in Australia. It's probably bigger there than it is here. So.
Yeah, that's the thing about Australia. There's a lot of different cuisines, especially in the big cities like Sydney. You go out west and you've got like all these amazing restaurants. You get everything you want.
So, what's famous over there? I know it's something that I'll never eat, like crocodile legs, or what is it? Crocodile? I can't remember. What is it? There's something over there that
you're thinking of Crocodile Dundee or something. I don't know.
Everybody's supposed to taste it when they go there. Or is it alligator?
That's what I was mentioning before. Vegemite. Vegemite.
What is it?
It's like it comes in a little jar. It's like like yeast. It's a very interesting taste, but Australia's known for it. You put it on your toast, on your bread in the morning.
I'm right now. That's what you just said that you have in the morning, right? Is that what you were just talking about?
Vegemite.
Oh my God.
Vegemite on toast.
Deb, you're making note of that? Are you putting it on your grocery list?
I'm going to Google it and learn about it.
Yeah, you should.
Really? So you put it on toast?
Tams. Wow. Yeah. It's Vegemite on toast. It's a very interesting taste. If you don't grow up with it, you probably won't like it too much, but you got to give it a try. You don't use too much because it's very strong, like just a little bit.
A little bit, okay.
Yeah.
If you have a big show coming up, how do you prepare for that? What do you eat? Do you eat light? Do you wait and eat afterwards? Or do you eat big before? Or you don't eat at all?
Yeah. I think it's funny because I do have my routines before I perform, and I do like to have something to eat beforehand. Not too, not too big, maybe about half an hour before I go on stage, because you need some energy. If you're doing these big shows, you definitely need some energy. But yeah, I try not to drink any alcohol or any fizzy drinks or anything like that, like Pepsi or Coke or anything, because yeah, stay away from all that stuff. I try and be healthy as I can. I try and eat organic and healthy. So yeah.
Is that part of your daily routine? Do you work out every day?
I do, yeah. I try and keep as fit as I possibly can. I'm actually a qualified personal trainer, so that was part of my past life. Working in the fitness industry was something I really enjoyed. So, and it's healthy mind, healthy body. Healthy body, healthy mind, as they say.
I kind of figured because when I was here again, I was going through the website, just kind of, finding out more about you. There were some pics on there, and you were like, yeah, I think I saw the tats, and then I'm going, holy shit, look at his arms. This is crazy. It's like, wow. So I kind of figured you did something like that. So
yeah, I love it.
I
think it's something that it actually keeps me sane as well. You know, if you've had a pretty average day, it's good to take it out on the exercise, you know, and really give it some, go hard on it.
Oh, it's great therapy in a way. And any stresses that you have, I feel like just come right off after a really good
I agree.
So.
And I look at the same with music as well. It's a part of my therapy, you know. So I get to make, you know, my therapy is my job.
Right. That's a good way to put it. What happens though? We talk about therapy and we talk about, you know, we have a lot of good times and we also have those times where, you know, everything just goes wrong and things suck and all that. How do you handle all that? What do you do to get yourself out of that rut?
Yeah, it's actually a really good question, you know, because as a musician, and any up and coming musician would know, it's a huge struggle to work in the music industry and to be able to make a living out of it, and to crack it, I guess you could say, to make it as a musician. So for me, I think keeping really level-headed is really important, you know, and not kind of taking things for granted. That's the way that I look at it, you know. You know, I've had a bit of success here in Australia, but for me, I don't kind of define that as my career. I think I look at it like a stepping stone to something a little bit bigger, or something, the next kind of phase of the career, if that makes any sense.
I got you.
Yeah, so, a long ways to go.
Yeah, and
you'll be there for quite some time.
Yeah, for sure. I hope so. You know, and I love it. I love writing. I love creating. But I think at the end of the day, when it all kind of comes down to it, I love just to sit down with a glass of Australian red wine and just, you know, have a glass of wine and read a book or something that kind of takes me away from it all.
Yeah.
Are you a very relaxed person? Have a very relaxed personality? You kind of seem like you would not be too high strung, or you don't let things get to you. Because I don't think I could sit down and read a book, to be honest with you, because I probably after about 3 pages I need to get up and do something.
Done. Yeah.
So
I think I know what you mean. It's hard to find the balance, is it? I think it's taken me a long time to kind of find that balance and to be able to be to zone out from things and to not take things personal and to really focus on yourself and your soul, you know, at the end of the day, and feed your soul, not just feed your soul with money, but feed your soul with good health and that kind of stuff. But I'm a very chilled human being anyway, so nothing really gets to me. I think I got that from my dad. My dad's very chill. Yeah, it's funny, you know, like I just look at things, you know, things could always be worse in life. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are worse off than yourself. So I think you just got to be as positive as you can and just keep smiling and, you know, do the best you can with your journey that you're on.
Did you have a question?
I thought that was,
I was going to ask a question, but I didn't want to cut you off.
No, go right ahead.
Well, with that balance in your life, I'm feeling like that really helps you when you're writing. And do you find where you prefer to write by yourself because you do have that mindset where you can relax and think it through, or do you prefer to write with other people? Preference?
Yeah, I do a lot of co-writing, I have to say. But I think for me, I've had some really crappy times in my life that I've had to deal with, and they're the times that I've written the best music and written the best songs. So for me, I like to kind of zone out when I'm writing. I like to just you know, you don't know when inspiration is going to strike you. That's the thing. So you got to kind of be ready for it. You got to be prepared for it. But I think when it comes to writing with other people, especially when you're doing a writing session, some of the sessions are penciled in with these bigger kind of names. So I've only got an hour with them. So it's more of a strategic writing session, and not opposed to like a creative writing session, if that.
I never thought about that, having a short amount of time to be with someone to get that. You know, it's a job, granted, but it's also there is a lot of emotion involved in that too. So
it's so true. And I think if I'm going into a writing session, I like to have my ideas already on a piece of paper or in front of me out of my head, so they can kind of jump into that. And it takes the pressure away a little bit. And then, there's only so much one person can come up with. So it's always nice to have a second pair of ears, to help you create something a little bit different. And you don't want your music to sound the same every release you do. You want to really step outside the square every time you release something. And I try to do that as much as I can, I think.
I agree.
Wow. I like this. What's the best advice you've ever been given? Now, I realize you've been doing this a long time, but well, I don't know what really is a long time, but you've been continuous. What's the best advice you have been given, Andy?
I have to say, both my parents have always told me to work really, really hard and be as nice as you can to people. That's the two things that I've taken with me for most of my life. If you want something, you've got to work for it. You've got to really put the time in, and you've got to, especially as a musician, you've got to really want it to be able to do it and build a career out of it. And I think it's really important to be as nicer to everyone along the way, because you just don't know what they're going through and what their journey is. So they're the two things that I take with me every single day for sure.
What do you think you'd be doing if you weren't doing music?
That's I definitely wouldn't be cooking. I think
you'd own a fitness center.
Yeah, that could be it. But I guess things would be so different if I didn't have music. But my dad's in construction in Australia, and he's always wanted me and my brother to take over the family business. So I guess I'd be doing that, to be honest.
Are your brothers musicians at all?
I've got one brother, and he's not a professional musician, but he's just a fantastic guitarist. And I actually learnt to play guitar from him.
Oh, excellent.
But he went down a different path than me. He chose a different path, but he still loves to play every now and again, for sure.
Oh, that's great. And you said you only have the one brother.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of my brother and myself. So he's kind of, he's always been the one that's kind of, looked out for me and that kind of stuff. But he's really proud of what I've done and what I've achieved as a musician, which is cool.
Mm-hmm. If you could collaborate with anybody, who would you like that to be, or you wish it would be, or you never know, it could be?
Yeah, for sure. One of my biggest influences is actually an American artist called Ryan Adams. You guys have probably heard of him.
Yes.
Not Brian, but the Ryan.
Ryan.
Yeah. He's an Americana singer-songwriter, and he's been doing it for such a long time. And I've always really been drawn to his writing style. I think he's just so poetic. He's got some absolutely beautiful songs, and he just has some really interesting things to say. I'd love to have a session with him. I think he'd have something really cool to say, and really, it'd be a really cool session. Yeah,
I bet. How would you describe one of your shows?
One of my shows, I think, people are quite surprised when they come and see me live, because if you've never seen a musician live, there's a lot of pressure on the musician to sound a certain way, or sound as good as what they do recorded, I guess. So for me, a lot of people are quite surprised that I do sound like I do when I'm recorded, and a lot of people say I sound better live than what I do recorded. And I think the most important thing for me and my audience is I need them to feel like they're a part of the show and they're a part of the songs. So I try and make it as personal as I can. I try and make it as interesting as I can as well. But I think they're always in for a good time when they come to a show with me. I love to, I'm a bit of a clown as well, so I love to throw a few jokes here and there. So
it's you are a entertainer, and that's what it's about. You're a musician, you're an entertainer. Do you include American country when you do a show? I call it American country, but you take one of the songs that we hear here in the United States quite often. You include those when you're doing a gig?
For sure, yeah. So I love to do a cover every now and again. And most of the covers I do are American musicians.
Oh,
cool. I'd say, there's a handful of Australian artists that I play as well and that I love. But yeah, I throw a lot of Eagles songs in because I love them. Matchbox 20, I throw some of their stuff in. Alan Jackson, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a few Keith Urban songs come pop their head, even though he's an Aussie. But yeah, I love to. The thing with me too is I like to make them my own.
Mm-hmm.
I don't usually. People get quite, they're quite interested because some people ask me, "Is that your song?" And I'm like, "No, it's not. It's not mine." I love to. Yeah, I just think it's really cool to be able to take somebody else's song and then just put the feeling of your own into it. And I think that's a really important thing to do.
You said you're big into fitness, and I get that. But what do you? There's got to be something else that you do for fun as well. What do you do if you want to get away from all that? You want to take a little time away from the music, maybe not go to the gym. What would you be doing? What would you like to do?
Yeah, I'm actually quite a creative soul, I guess you could say. So I love art. I love painting. I love doing all that kind of stuff. So I definitely could sit down. I could spend hours just creating some artwork. That definitely takes me away from music. But I think for me it's really important to be connected with my friends and my family outside of music, because those relationships with those people are pretty much everything to me. So that takes up a lot of my time.
Excellent.
Wow, I need you to send some of those relaxation vibes this way. Now that you say you paint, I'm like, oh wow, that's awesome. I mean, that's really hard to do these days. I mean, we're all multitasking and we all have to be, in 3 places at one time, and you're running here, there, and everywhere. And that is one thing I think the whole world just doesn't have enough of, is that downtime to just reflect and do what's good for your soul. And then spending time with family has always been our number one. And I think that's one of the things COVID has taught a lot of people, is to try to come together and spend that time.
And he's not the first one to have said painting. Other artists that we've talked to, and I've thrown that question out there, and they talk about being creative in the way of painting. It helps them chill. It just kind of like they really enjoy it, and they can put everything else out of their mind. So.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those things. You just kind of separate from your body, like you're just in the zone. And I think it's being an artist. It's really important. People may not like what you paint, but like it's an expression of who you are.
Is that your artwork behind you by any chance?
That one isn't mine, no, but it's a original artwork from Papua New Guinea.
Oh yeah.
Because it looks like a painting from my. Okay.
Yeah, it's a hand painted art.
Oh,
it's very cool. Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. It looks like you're in like a cement corner with just that painting hanging. I'm
actually in the office. That's hanging up in the back of the office here. So.
I gotcha.
Yeah, the whole being in Queensland, most of the house that I'm in is all made of concrete. The whole house, so it's because it gets so warm. Yeah.
Wow. I've always dreamed of going there someday. That part of the world. I hear it's absolutely beautiful.
It is, yeah. I mean, literally, I just walk out into the backyard here, and there's kangaroos, and there's
I was going to ask about kangaroos, but I was kind of afraid.
Yeah. And there's like ducks, and every bit of nature. There's foxes running around. It's just amazing here.
That is amazing. I couldn't
imagine walking outside and seeing a kangaroo just hopping across the backyard. Like, we have deer by the millions here, so you probably. Right.
It's the same thing. Yeah, it's one of those things you gotta watch them driving up the driveway, because they're not very they don't have no road sense whatsoever, so they'll jump out right in front of you. So.
Oh my gosh.
It's almost like a deer here.
Mm-hmm.
They have a tendency to jump out in front of you. So, and Deb knows from experience. I've never had that, but I know it happens a lot. So that's crazy.
Yes.
Well, you're in a beautiful part of the world, and I'm glad that we had this opportunity to talk a little bit and find out more about you. And I'm looking to hear a lot of music from you in the near future. And where do you see yourself in 5 years down the road? I know you've reached a certain level. I mean, with everything that you've done, but where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you think you'll ever move here?
Yeah, well, that's definitely the plan. The plan, I've got this album coming out. Excuse me, like I said, coming out this mid-year. The album's called Love, Lies, and Dirty Dishes. So that's hitting stores this year in Australia. But I think for me, the most important thing is to keep thinking about the next step. And the natural progression for me will be to go over to America and start building a career in Nashville. And hopefully, get to work with some big artists over there, and that's the next progression for me for sure.
So a question I would have is, because you are so family oriented, how difficult would that be to actually make a move, do you think?
Yeah, it'd be a tough one for sure. I think as you get older too, you want to spend as much time as you can with your parents and bits and pieces. But I think for me, I would love to be able to have a good balance and spend maybe 6 months over there and come back as much as I can, or vice versa, have them come over. But I think they would probably be more unhappy if I didn't do it, because they know that it's something I need to do, and something I don't think I'd be able to rest in peace at some stage of my when that comes, if I haven't given it my all.
Hey, no, I think it's great. We'll probably see you at the CMA Awards, so works for us.
Sounds good to me. I'll definitely be there at some stage.
That would be excellent. Well, we look forward to definitely saying hello someday and actually getting the opportunity to meet you. And it's been just a great conversation with you, and to get to know you a little bit, and the music that's coming out. The new album 1993 is coming out as well, correct?
It is.
And
so 1993 is out in America on the 28th of January. It's hitting radio, which is really exciting. And then it's 28th of January here in Australia. I'm actually having a simultaneous release here in Australia, and then the album, I've got another single coming out in April in the States, and then the album. So I'm a busy man, let me tell you. It's going to keep me out of trouble, or get me into trouble, one of the two.
You're doing what you love, though, Andy. You're doing what you love. That's what matters. And just keep pushing ahead.
I agree, and I'm so grateful, and I pinch myself every day to go, this is my life. I'm living my dream, and not a lot of people get to do that. So I'm very grateful, that's for sure.
And I hope everything that you've accomplished has been very rewarding to you. I mean, with the #1 songs and having some in the top 20, that's pretty awesome. You're way ahead of the game, a lot further than so many. And
thank you.
Cool.
And it's I'm really proud of the hard work that I put in. I think that's definitely something that to be proud of as a human, to know that you've done the best you can, and you may not. That's the thing about life, isn't it? You just, whatever path you're on, you may not end in the place that you want to end, but if you give it 100%, you can't regret it, can you? So
I'm going to ask a really strange question. What do you drive?
What do I drive? I've got a Subaru.
Oh, Subarus are good. Is it like a SUV?
An SUV, yeah. No,
they're good,
yeah.
And they're pretty big in Australia, if I'm not mistaken.
They are, yeah. So I've got that car, which kind of gets me around to gigs and bits and pieces, because it's an easy car to throw the gear in the back, to be honest with you. So it's a great little car.
Yeah, exactly. I was just kind of curious.
And I can take it off the road too, which is good.
Do you go off road with it and like take it down onto the beach?
I haven't yet. It's actually only 6 months old, to be honest with you.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. No, not yet.
It's still sitting in the garage.
Yeah. I was going to say, don't do it yet. No, it's too early. You don't want to bury it in the sand.
I'll give it a year, but we were locked down in Sydney last year, so I didn't get a chance to really go anywhere. I just sat in the garage.
It's funny because Lucy, I think this when we talked to Lucy, and she said she was locked down, if I'm not mistaken. I believe she did.
That's probably about right.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while.
That was.
And she kept teasing us with the nice weather. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. I mean, it's been 2 years since I've been able to get up over the border here to Queensland, because the borders have been closed. So everything's starting to get back to some normality to some degree here, which is great, because months and months of just having lockdowns, which is frustrating. But I used it quite well. I recorded this album in that time, so I've got to be grateful for that for sure.
There's a lot of good that came out of that. I hate to put it that way, but for somebody like you, where being locked down, you can just work on your craft, even make it
for
better.
sure. And
yeah,
I agree, and you have to be. I've made a decision, a conscious decision, to be as constructive as possible during these times, because a lot of people, it was hard for them. They got into a depression and all that kind of stuff, especially musicians, because you're not out on the road, you're not performing. So I just made a really conscious decision to write and record and make the most of the time.
And that's what this whole pandemic thing is, what forced Deb and I to do a lot of our interviews this way. Instead, usually when they come through on the radio tour, obviously it wouldn't happen with you because you're there. But a lot of the artists here in the States, when they come through on the radio tour, we would bring them into the podcast studio and we would do it live from here. But with the pandemic, we've learned a whole new way of doing things. Well, we always knew how to do it. We just kind of perfected it a little bit. So.
Well, and I think we got to meet a lot. Sorry, there was a little delay there, but we did get to meet a lot more artists this way too, which was great. So
it's amazing, isn't it? The technology that people have started to use, and it's become an everyday part of life now, which is fantastic. And here I am in sunny Queensland talking to you guys. So yeah.
And we're in cold, snowy Syracuse, New York.
There you go. It's crazy, isn't it?
Tomorrow they're talking about, because it's in the middle of winter here, maybe a high of 15 degrees Fahrenheit. And so it's, exactly.
Summer's day for you guys.
Yeah. You know what? We get used to it, though. We get the 4 seasons. So once we get through this cold spell, it does get better. And then we have a beautiful summer. So,
it's a great part of the world, that's for sure.
It's definitely a great part of the world. Andy, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Somebody wants to find out more about you. We've put your website there up on the screen. What can they find on your website?
All my contacts are on that on my website. So all my links to all my social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual suspects. All my music's up there as well. And tour dates are up there, which is great. So everything's there. And I've got this. I'm on the promotional trail at the moment for this new single, but the new album timeline release will be up there, so that everyone can get involved if they want to pre-order the album, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, jump on and do it. Highly recommend. I know I'm going to be doing it to get the album and put it in my library here, because like I said in the beginning, your music is superb, my friend. It's excellent. So
thank you so much. I appreciate your time, guys, and it was so lovely to talk to you both.
Yes,
that was great. Please let us know if you ever come this way, ever come to Nashville, however you get over here. Definitely let us know.
I'm definitely going to take you up on that offer, because I'm heading there at some stage. So that's something I will definitely do.
That would be awesome.
Thank you.
Deb spends a lot of time in Nashville. She has a business there, as well as, she lives here in the Northeast. So she's in Nashville. And I say this every time, like every other day. I go about 3 times a year. But
it's lucky.
It's quite a bit. But
matter of fact, she goes to Nashville so much. There's an airline that does a nonstop now from Syracuse to Nashville, and it's because
it's great. You can hop on, get over there, and get back. So
how's that?
Well,
it's like catching a bus, isn't it? Now
it is
pretty much.
Great.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised too, because we're really not a huge community here in Syracuse, but our surrounding areas. We are the closest airport, probably within a couple of hours or an hour and a half. That we have an international airport, so it works out really well.
Works out really well.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, yes. I will. You guys will be the first ones I call when I get there.
We hope so, and we'd love to meet you and say hello. Andy, thanks so much for joining us here tonight on Skip Happens. You can follow us on, of course, my Skip Happens YouTube page, and of course the Skip Happens Facebook. I saw that you accepted my request just before we went on tonight. So that's cool.
I did. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Right back. And Deb, your digits are?
We have a Facebook and we have an Instagram, the Official Country Music Fan Club. We'll send a request over. And when you get new music out, we'll definitely push that out for you and introduce you to some new fans and introduce our fans to some new music.
Bam.
Fantastic. And that's what it's all about. It's all about the music at the end of the day, isn't it?
It is.
100%. And the fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's artists
We
like you that
appreciate it.
make our job really easy.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate your time. Appreciate that.
All right. It's great knowing you, getting to meet you, Andy, and we look forward to seeing you again down the road. Once again, thank you for coming out with Skip Happens tonight. And stay right there when we log off.
Cheers,
All right.
guys.
Peace out.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.